Let me show you and give you a prime example of what paint looks like when it shrinks. Now, a lot of people out there have been watching me do this fender, and I've made it all real nice and smooth, put about 8 coats of clear on it. You can see this is the back of the fender right here. You can see where it has all these bright spots are low spots. Okay, well you can see that's not too bad, really. That's to be expected. But this is the front of the fender. And remember, I had this fender absolutely bitch straight, perfect, smooth. You could cut a diamond in the back of the Cadillac on this thing. Okay? But this I cannot stress enough. When lacquer thinner or reducer is in the paint, sooner or later it's going to evaporate out. And when it evaporates, the paint will shrink and fill in that low spot. Now, a lot of these areas here that we're looking at are, there was some spot putty involved in here. And remember, the spot putty is basically thick primer with lacquer thinner base. And you can see how the paint is shrunk out. Now, I could have taken this beautiful deal a week ago and sanded it totally smooth, polished it out. It looked totally beautiful. And then the first 2 days sitting in the sun, it would have dried up. And the real surface would start to come through. All those low spots or big rips or everything that you see right there is where a bunch of enamel reducer or lacquer thinner has bled through the surface, evaporated, and the paint is shrunk into it. So when you do a job and you think you have it totally perfect, and you come back a little while later, a few weeks later or whatever, especially sitting in the hot sun, and you notice that it doesn't look straight and flat anymore, this is the reason. And my cure for this is I put on 6 or 7 coats of clear in preparation that I'm going to have to sand off 3 or 4 of them. So that's what paint looks like when it shrinks. Now I'll take my 1000 grit paper here, 1000 grit, and I'll take some warm water and a little bit of soap, and I'll sand that smooth again. And I may just let it sit. I may put on another coat of clear. I'm not sure. But every flaw that you have in here will show. Even you can see the vertical line or horizontal line right here to right here. That is the edges of the caulking I put in there. And so the caulking is nice and smooth. It's been there. It's not moving. It's just the paint around it that's shrunk. And you can see this is on the back here. There's a few problems. And my theory on the whole deal is, okay, some of it's going to shrink on all my work. That's fine. Some of it's going to shrink, no problem. I'll just get it as dry as I can. I'll smooth it out. I will polish it and wax it and hope for the best. And if it shrinks again, which it's likely to do in the summer, then I'll just get out my 1000 grit again. I'll take the wax off, I'll sand it smooth again, and I'll repolish it. And if I think that my clear is too thin, then I'll put on a couple more heavy coats and sand that down and keep on going. And that's the way you do it. But if you ever run into the case where all of a sudden the surface is uneven. The surface is uneven. That's because it's still drying. And unless you have a paint booth, unless you have catalyzed enamel, that's what is going to happen. So as long as you're aware of it, now you've got lesson number one of what paint looks like when it shrinks after you perfectly sand it.